Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Sanctuary. This is your space for reflection, growth, and connection. As always, I'm your girl and guide, Mariah Miles, licensed therapist, ordained minister, and overall creative. As we begin today, I want to kind of just start with dropping into the breath. Just allowing ourselves to pause and check in. There is so much going on in the world, and it's important for us to be able to create that sacred pause in our life. Last month, we explored the theme of forgiveness, learning to release what no longer serves us, and really opening space for healing and compassion, which often can feel so tricky, especially if we get overwhelmed by the macro, right? If we're looking at everything globally in the big world, and that just might make us shrink into ourselves, right? That might make us panic. And so I continue to invite you just to focus on the present, focus on the micro, the things that are in your control. Focus on the simple things. And I hope that you were able and continue to be able to carry some of that gentle awareness that we discussed into your daily life. As we move into August, I invite you to bring that same curiosity inward as we embrace a new theme, joy. And so fitting too, because I just became a first-time auntie. Shout out to my brother and my sister-in-law. Love you guys. So excited. But this month, we're going to explore how joy isn't just a fleeting feeling, but a way of being. Something that we can invite into our lives through awareness, through small acts of courage. And to start, I'd like to share this beautiful quote by J. Krishnamurti. Joy is not the result of what you do. It is a state of being. And so that is this month's quote. Joy is not the result of what you do. It is a state of being. And this month's affirmation is, I invite joy into my life, celebrating the beauty in every moment. I invite you to take a breath, kind of sit with these words, allow them to settle into your heart, and perhaps you say it aloud with me. I invite joy into my life, celebrating the beauty in every moment. As we journey through this month, remember that each moment is this opportunity to notice the beauty around you and within you. And I mean at any moment, no matter what's happening outside or inside. Do this for yourself. Let's begin by gently opening to the possibility of joy right here, right now. So as we begin today to explore today's topic, I want to invite you to, again, come with an open, curious mind. Sometimes we carry around these ideas about ourselves, right? Our thoughts, our feelings, our habits, they just become so familiar that we don't even realize that they're shaping how we see the world. So today I want to talk about one of those invisible parts inside us, something called the ego. Are you familiar with that? Maybe, maybe not. You've heard it around, but what does it really mean? Don't worry, I got you. Think of the ego as a kind of storyteller inside us. It's this voice that tries to keep us safe. It's trying to protect us from feeling hurt or vulnerable. It's that part that wants us to look good, right? That part that wants us to be almost perfect, to avoid failure, to hide our imperfections. But see, sometimes this storyteller can also create a lot of barriers to our happiness. It's constantly convincing us that we need to be a certain way or, hide elements of us, parts of ourselves that really need to be loved or accepted, even from ourselves. And you might be wondering, okay, so what does that mean? How does that affect me? Well, it's very natural to have this part of us. It's not about getting rid of it. We're not trying to get rid of the ego here. It's about understanding it so we can see how it influences our thoughts, our feelings, our actions, especially when it comes to joy and vulnerability. I'm hoping that we can explore this idea, looking at how this inner storyteller might be keeping us from experiencing the fullness of life. How these small steps of vulnerability can actually help us find more genuine happiness. And because sometimes those stories that we tell ourselves, like, I need to be perfect or I can't show my true feelings, are really rooted in this inner voice. It's trying to protect us. And maybe at one point in our life it was. But that voice can make it feel really risky and even uncomfortable to be ourselves, especially when we're trying to find joy. But the good news is, by just simply noticing and naming that voice, and I'm not meaning naming it like Bob, I'm saying just naming the fact that, hey, there's that thing again trying to keep me safe. Because by becoming aware of these stories, we begin to really loosen that hold on us. We begin to relax into the tension and allow the tension to dissolve. We give ourselves permission to be more authentic, more real, and ultimately more joyful. Now I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that inside each of us, there's a little part, like a child almost, that's afraid of getting hurt or being judged or of not being enough. And this part of us might be whispering, don't show that, or maybe hide how you really feel. And again, it's natural. This part wants to keep us safe. But sometimes it keeps us so small. It keeps us from actually sharing our true selves. And it really can block us from experiencing real happiness. And the thing is, vulnerability isn't about revealing everything all at once, right? Please don't be one of those people who just go up and start dumping on the person who's checking you out at the grocery store. Or jumping into, it's almost like jumping into the deep end, right? But it's about gradually, really gradually opening just a little bit and then a little bit more with kindness and patience, really toward yourself. It's really important. It's about saying, yes, I am imperfect. And hey, that's okay. And trusting that in that honesty, maybe we find a little freedom and a little bit more connection, right? So today I invite you to consider, what small act of vulnerability can you gently practice. And maybe it's sharing just a genuine smile, or telling someone how you really feel, or simply allowing yourself to pause and notice what you're feeling right now without judgment. And maybe you take out your notebook, your journal. I have some questions for reflection for you. What part of me feels afraid to be seen? What would happen if I allowed myself to be a little more honest today? What's one small step I can take toward embracing my imperfections? Remember, often it's not the big leaps that change everything. It's more about the small, consistent steps that we take each day. And each time we choose to be authentic, to admit our faults, or to even show our vulnerabilities, that we're planting these seeds of joy. And joy isn't about having everything perfect. None of us are perfect. Nothing is perfect. The more we plan for it, it's going to blow up in your face. It's no. But it's about embracing life as it is. And I've talked about this a lot, right? Messy and imperfect and beautiful. The beauty lies within the messy and the imperfect. And so every act of vulnerability is kind of courage. It's courageous. I wonder if you can remind yourself that. It's a way of saying to yourself, I am enough, just as I am. And that's really where I believe true joy begins. How can we how can we expect other people to accept us if we cannot accept all the parts of who we are? So be curious about that inner storyteller, the voice that wants to keep you safe, but might also be holding you back from your joy. Just notice when it speaks. Maybe you ask yourself, what if I didn't have to believe everything it says? What if I could be a little more open, a little bit more real right now? I had this experience at the bank today. I was running errands and I noticed within myself a slight irritation when I went up to the teller, and my perception was she was using an unauthentic voice with me, overly cheery and high-pitched. But I had just seen this person outside, maybe on their break on the phone, and that was not their disposition. But for some reason, I was rubbed the wrong way about it. And I noticed a little bit of tension within me, like a little resistance to engage, because it didn't feel genuine. I was still kind. At some point, she recognized that I was not matching her cadence. And she started to shift into a more authentic, genuine tone, which allowed me to connect with her more, just in those moments. It's just something that came up. And although it was a brief interaction, I always feel like it's great to be able to implement those practices. Right? Noticing what's happening for us. Noticing when I can soften the tension and reconnect with myself. So as we move into our somatic practice today, I'm going to remind you just to remember that this sense of vulnerability, it's a path. one that leads to connection, authenticity, and that joy. And so every small step counts, right? No step is too small. And sometimes those stories we tell ourselves are really rooted in parts of us that we might not even fully see. The ones that often are shaped by our fears and past wounds or shadows, those hidden aspects of ourselves that we might be reluctant to face. I believe that's where a lot of the tension comes from. And here's the thing. When we're afraid or defensive, I think it's often because there's this story or maybe a fear that's lurking beneath. Something that we're trying to protect ourselves from experiencing again. And these stories can really keep us stuck, blocking the joy that's already inside us. Right? We need to uncover the joy. We got to brush off the layers of experiences, that layers of dirt that are there. I have a client who often felt that she was becoming defensive, especially in her close relationships. And she'd react before even realizing that she was doing it. You know, her defenses just automatically up, her heart really guarded. It was as if she was running from something inside, something she didn't even fully understand at first. What she was really running from were her fears of rejection and being judged. Right? It's so easy to feel like we're running from an external source, but there's something else there beneath the surface. Things she'd learned to hide deep inside. And every time she avoided confrontation or pushed others away, she herself was still there, right? Still carrying that fear. You know that saying, like, wherever you go, you're still there? And that's this. And I think that it kept her from experiencing the kind of connection and joy she truly wanted, right? And over time, she learned that through some shadow work, those hidden fears, that's what our shadow kind of is, it didn't have to control her. And when she was able to slow down and trust that it was okay to dive into that pause and take a breath, she simply asked herself, what story am I telling myself right now? And she started to see how her reactions were just stories that her mind was kind of spinning, right? We get caught in a loop. And one little thing can shift so we can jump off the train of the loop. And in that moment of awareness, you can choose differently. She chose differently. And so you might be like, Mariah, why are you sharing this story? Well, I think that this story is a reminder that what we're most afraid of, those shadows, are often just stories we've been carrying. And when we slow down enough to see them, to feel them, to acknowledge them, of course with some compassion, we open the door to greater authenticity and, again, more joy. And that's what I want to invite you to do today. As you listen, notice if there's a story or a fear that's coming up for you. Reminding yourself that it's okay, that these stories are part of being human, but that the key is to gently pause and breathe through the discomfort that arises, allowing yourself to see what's really happening beneath the surface. Some other optional reflections you might do or consider is what's the story that's happening inside you right now? I mean, there's tons of options. I can throw some out there. Maybe it's a fear of being judged. I feel like all of us have a little bit of a part of ourselves that fear of being judged. Maybe it's a worry that you're not enough. Feeling of vulnerability that you want to avoid, that discomfort. Just take a moment. Just a brief pause to check in. Notice what's here without judgment. Just allow yourself to witness. Asking yourself, what am I feeling? Where do I feel it in my body? And I think it's really important that we continue to reinforce self-compassion. We have to remind ourselves constantly that it's okay to feel afraid or unsure so that we don't run away from those feelings and we just accept them like any other feeling. So that's why I keep repeating myself. Be gentle with yourself. This really is part of the process. And when I say part of the process, I mean it's just hard for us to be in community if we have a hard time connecting to ourselves. What do you think? I think that showing up despite feeling the fear, right? Allowing yourself to be vulnerable, it takes us to a whole different level. As we come to the end of this reflection, remember that every story that you hold is really part of your human experience. These stories don't define you. But again, they're invitations to know yourself more deeply. And every time you pause and you listen and you approach yourself with kindness, you create this space, right, for that authentic joy to emerge, just moment by moment. Can you continue to stay curious about you? And can you stay curious as we move into our somatic practice? Because this is going to be a practice to connect more deeply with your body and your inner world, to ground yourself and nurture that inner space where your joy can continue to flourish. Let's begin by finding a comfortable seated position, either on a chair with your feet flat on the ground or gently sitting on the floor. Whatever feels right for your body if you're able. Resting your hands softly on your lap or your thighs. Allowing your eyes to close or soften your gaze. Taking a moment to settle into your body. Releasing any tension you might be holding. And gently bring your attention to your breath. Taking a slow, deep inhale through your nose. Feeling your abdomen expand fully like a balloon filling with air. And holding that breath gently at the top. And as you do, bring to mind a joyful moment in your life. A special memory, a celebration, maybe even a special pleasure that brought you happiness. Allow yourself to hold that image in your mind and notice how it makes you feel. As you exhale slowly and fully through your mouth, continue to hold that joyful image. Notice sensations in your body. Maybe there's a lightness or a warmth. Just allowing yourself to fully experience that feeling. That feeling of joy, even if it's just for a moment. Continuing this practice of inhaling deeply, feeling your belly rise, and exhaling slowly, releasing any tension, while holding that joyful image in your mind. And let's continue to repeat this for several breaths, letting each inhale bring in more of that joyful feeling, and each exhale deepening your sense of connection to it. Inhaling deeply, feeling your belly rise. Exhaling slowly, releasing any tension. And continue on your own rhythm. Continue to breathe softly. Notice sensations, thoughts, feelings. If your mind begins to wander, gently bring your attention back to your breath. Staying present with each inhale and each exhale. Allowing yourself to remain here as long as you need. Trusting in this moment. Gently allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm. And when you're ready, gently bring your awareness back to your body. And feeling the contact points with the chair or the floor. Allowing yourself to take a few more breaths. And when you feel complete, I encourage you to keep the feeling of joy with you. And just slowly open your eyes or bring your awareness back to the room. Allowing yourself to carry this sense of joy with you into your day. Knowing you can return to this practice whenever you wish. Remember that joy is always accessible to you. It's waiting for you to notice it, to invite it in. As we wrap up today's session, I have a simple offering for you, if you choose, but to choose one small act of vulnerability, whether it's sharing a feeling honestly, maybe pausing before reacting, simply noticing a story that your mind is spinning out on. Because when you do, and please be gentle with yourself, but when you do, remember each small step is a powerful move toward opening up your heart and inviting more joy into your life. Next week, we'll continue this journey by exploring how letting go of blame and control can create space for genuine happiness and inner peace. We'll look at practical ways to release these burdens and cultivate self-compassion, which we've already kind of worked on, but it's an essential step toward living more fully and joyfully, right? I look forward to sharing this conversation with you. And until then, continue being present with your practices of awareness. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a session here at the Sanctuary. And perhaps you share this with a friend because you never know who might need to hear this. I hope to see you over at the Sanctuary with Mariah Miles. Embrace each breath and remember our bodies have this innate wisdom, the beautiful ability to heal itself. And we heal best in community. Love and light. Peace, y'all. While this podcast may feel like a therapeutic conversation, it is important to note that it is not a substitute for professional therapy or mental health. The information shared here is intended solely for educational purposes and should not be used as a replacement for personalized mental health care. Although I am a therapist, I'm not acting as your therapist in this setting. If you are in need of support, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional.